Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look at the division previews for the 2021 NHL season. It always causes a lot of controversy, and obviously I could look back at the end of the season and look at how right or how wrong I am. Hopefully right. We're going to be taking a look at the Canada division as we do the first of four division previews and predictions. We're going to start things off north of the border in Canada. We're going to be taking a look at how I think the division will finish this year. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. And let's preview the Canada division. So the Canada division is going to be a tough one. It is all of the Canadian teams, all seven of them. And I think it is going to be one of the most competitive divisions in the league. Honestly, it will be the most competitive. Obviously, we've seen a team like Ottawa, who missed the playoffs last season, one of the worst teams in the league, add a lot of players in free agency and the draft. The Winnipeg Jets still have a very solid goaltender. We've seen the Battle of Alberta, how that is going to affect things. And then obviously, you have a team like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. How do these teams all lay out? So we're going to be taking a look at that here. But before we get into that, guys, want to give a quick plug to our Instagram and Twitter handles at goalline_hockey. The links to that will be in the description down below. And let that out of the way. Let's take a look at my preview predictions for the Canada division here in the NHL's 2021 NHL season. So we're going to start things off at number 7. And guys, it is the Ottawa Senators at number 7. The Ottawa Senators have shown a lot of promise. I think they've really gone in the right direction. But unfortunately, because of the circumstance in this division, they do not benefit in any situation. They've got a really competitive division, like I mentioned. I think they're going to be able to make these teams really biting at the heels closer to the end of the season. But because of how stacked this division is, I just don't see how they have the roster to beat some of these other teams. So even with Matt Murray, even with some of the guys that they've added, they're still very young and they don't have the experience like some of these other teams have. I cannot put them ahead of these other teams, unfortunately. So I have the Ottawa Senators at number 7, even in those clean uniforms. This was based off of uniforms. They'd probably be in the top 3, but fortunately that's not the case. At least they'll look good losing. Ooh. Sorry, Sens fans. I hate to do that to you right off the bat. Especially my buddy Ali Desh, who is a Sens fan. So quick shout out to him. But anyway, Winnipeg Jets at number 6, guys. The Winnipeg Jets are at number 6. And the reason I have them ahead of the Sens is I like the goaltending. I do like Connor Hellebuyck. And he might even move this team ahead of the team ahead of them here. Just because of, what Connor Hellebuyck has done. He's a Vezina finalist over the past couple years. He's really emerged as a starting goaltender there in Winnipeg. But their issues on the defense is still a little bit concerning. They changed things up in the offseason, but I don't know if it was enough for them to take that next step forward. And the forward group is still very solid. But again, without Brian Little to start the season, I think that hurts a little bit. But adding Paul Stastny in obviously is a good replacement. But this is going to be an interesting Winnipeg team this year. I just don't know if they're better than some of these other teams, if I'm going to be honest. And then at number 5, we've got the Edmonton Oilers. That's right, guys. The Oilers are at number 5 and missing the postseason, in my opinion. Even with Connor McDavid, even with Leon Draisaitl, even with some of the guys they added this offseason, guys like Dominic Calhoun, guys like Kyle Turris, Tyson Barrie, they did not fix the biggest issue with this team, and that was goaltending. And having Mike Smith as your starting goaltender going into this year and Mikko Koskinen backing him up, I do not see any scenario where the Oilers can really get things done efficiently. And even with Jesse Puljujarvi coming back, I think that'll be a spark up front for the Oilers. But even with that, even with Kailer Yamamoto and Jesse Puljujarvi up front, the goaltending is going to be an issue. And without Oscar Klefbom, the defense did not get better with Tyson Barrie. It was just to replace Oscar Klefbom. And if we're going to be honest, Oscar Klefbom is probably a better defenseman than Tyson Barrie. So this is not really an upgrade in that regard. It's more of a replacement. So are the Oilers better than they were last season? I don't think so. And compared to the rest of this division, I think the Oilers get hurt playing in this division. If they were in the Pacific, I think I have them in the postseason. But because of this division, I think it hurts them, and I think they missed the postseason this year. Now we move on to the playoff teams in the Canada division, as it is projected according to Elliot Friedman and other sources on Twitter that the top 4 teams in each of these divisions will make the postseason. You do 4 teams in each division, you have 4 divisions. You do the math, 16 teams. That's right. That's a Stanley Cup playoff format, and that's what we would likely see. So now we move to the other Alberta team. As to the dismay of the Oilers fans, at number 4, I do have the Calgary Flames. I think the Calgary Flames, the difference between them and the Oilers is they added a goaltender. And Jacob Markstrom, is, I always say this, as long as Jacob Markstrom stays healthy, and this knee injury that he had in the playoffs here in 2020 with Vancouver, as long as that is not a long-term issue, that is a huge piece for the Calgary Flames. And they still have a pretty solid blue line. Despite losing guys like TJ Brody and Travis Hamonic, I still think they have a pretty solid roster, because Rasmus Anderson, Oliver Chillington will continue to develop. And guys like Juuso Välimäki, who we've seen in the AHL in Stockton, he's ready to go. So I'm very excited to see what the Calgary Flames do this year. I have them at number 4, and yes, in the postseason. At number 3, we move out to Quebec as the Montreal Canadiens, La Montreal des Canadiens, make it to the top 3, as they are the third team in my Canada division projections. I think the Montreal Canadiens are due for a jump year. I think even without Cole Caulfield, as he continues to play with the Wisconsin Badgers, I think adding a guy like Jake Allen, who really struggled with the St. Louis Blues, has something to prove this season. And I think he's due for a breakout season with the Montreal Canadiens. I may be eating crow next season for saying that, but I think this is his year. And playing behind behind one of the best goaltenders in the NHL, and Carey Price, alleviates some of the pressure from Jake Allen, and I think he's due for that year. Obviously, having Carey Price as your starting goaltender will help him out long term. I think it's only a good thing for the Habs. Alex Romanov, there's been so much hype around this kid. The hype train for Alex Romanov as the defenseman potentially winning the Calder this year is going to be quite interesting for the Habs, as well as the emergence of Nick Suzuki last season, him continuing to develop up front, as well as the young guys like Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Ryan Poehling. A lot of excitement around this Habs team. Not to mention some of the guys they picked up in free agency, like Tyler Toffoli. I think they are due for a big season this year. At number 2, we do have the Toronto Maple Leafs. And despite what I said a couple months ago about them missing the playoffs, that was in the Atlantic Division, where I think the Maple Leafs were potentially going to miss the postseason. In this division, they easily make the playoffs because of the other teams. They are just better than these other teams. They match up better against these teams. And I think the Maple Leafs get second in the Canada division. I think they've got the star power up front. Obviously, adding a veteran presence like Joe Thornton will be good for the younger guys. You have guys like John Tavares, who struggled last season. He is due for a better season next year. There's no way he plays as bad as he did last year. He's got that dad power thing going on. He is a dad. He needs to get things going there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The blue line looks considerably different with some of the young guys coming in like Liljegren, that Finnish guy. I forgot his name. It's Rantanen or something like that. Lehtinen. Let me look for his name. Mikko Lehtinen, is that his name? Check Cap Friendly. Mikko Lehtinen, Rasmus Sandin, Justin Hall, as well as the additions of guys like Zach Bogosian and TJ Brody. This is a considerably bigger defense. They've really changed this thing over the past couple of years. Jake Muzzin, TJ Brody, Zach Bogosian. Those are big boys, and I think this is an encouraging sign for the Maple Leafs blue line. And they have the depth too, as like I mentioned, Liljegren, Derjak, Kral, Kalle Rosen is still in the organization. Martin Marincin, so those are guys that are still in the organization for the Leafs. I think they have the potential to be second in this division, and they could potentially win this division as well. But the number 1 team I have is out in BC, in British Columbia, Western Canada. It is the Vancouver Canucks. I think the Canucks are due for a blossom season with a very solid young core that they have there in Vancouver. Guys like Quinn Hughes on the blue line. I think we're going to see the emergence of Olli Juolevi. Maybe not as a top defenseman like he was projected when he was drafted 5th overall by the Canucks back in the day, but still a top-tier defenseman, and I think he can do that for them. Maybe as a second pairing, probably start this season as a third pairing defenseman. And obviously up front, guys like Brock Besser, guys like Elias Pettersson, I think they've got some really talented guys up front. The emergence of Jake Virtanen last season, he finally seemed to bloom. And obviously the guys down low, like Zach McEwen and Adam Gaudette, continuing to develop. It's just all good news for the Vancouver Canucks. And not to mention, between the pipes, Thatcher Demko is now your starting goaltender alongside Braden Holtby, who's coming over from the Washington Capitals. I think there's a lot of excitement around this duo. One of the better duos, in my opinion, in the NHL. So I think this is very exciting. I think the Canucks, this is their year. And what they did going to the Western Conference Finals this year is just a glimpse at what we're going to see from Travis Green's squad moving forward for the Vancouver Canucks. I have them as the #1 team in this Canada division. So guys, let me know in the comment section down below how much you agree or disagree with me on my Canada division previews and predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.